Oh, hi. Oh, see, Cat, you're on TV. You're being live streamed.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. I have the live stream up. I don't
Oh,
know
yeah, I gotta
why
get the-
YouTube won't let me participate in any live stream chats.
They know you, Jeff.
Okay, that's fair.
The chat's up and running.
I do see the chat. Well, I see the live stream, but there's not even a chat with it.
All right, you guys
just
sometimes have
Katie.
to refresh the page.
Yeah, I just have a blank space where the chat should be. Oh, well.
Oh, not on the keyboard. Not on the keyboard.
On the keyboard.
He'll be back.
Yep.
Oh, very nice comment on my YouTube channel. I
Yeah.
was disappointed with your guests' comments on EVs. I am an avid listener and found them to be ill-informed. EVs are ready for prime time. It's not a small market.
Ready for prime time and small market. They don't have to be mutually exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate your comments, Philip.
Yes.
I still have what I think is a very unpopular opinion on this whole thing, which is that we're spending far too much money on finding ways to put different kinds of cars on the road. And what we really need to be working on is finding ways to improve public transportation so that we don't need to keep putting more and more cars on the road.
There you go.
Also, we're about a decade away from infrastructure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There is Mike. Badger, badger, badger.
Hawkeye,
Honey
Hawkeye,
badger.
Hawkeye.
Honey badger, don't care.
Ah, there we go. I couldn't unmute.
Hello,
I can't
Mike.
I can't tell you how horrific it is to be led into a Zoom meeting and the very first thing you see is Jeff.
I get it. Man, it's
that's good.
the
Mike.
number
I
of people that are in ongoing therapy for that very reason. There should be a support group.
Now Dave starts recording.
No, we've been on YouTube the whole time. Sorry. That went out
Mike,
live.
I need to email you. Just I got your email and it's been a weird week and I have not replied.
I actually had a lengthy conversation with Chuck yesterday.
There's more.
Oh, good. Well, I can't wait.
But yes, I knew you were going to have a chat with Chuck.
Yeah.
Yes.
Said he
It was
he said
all
he was-
about you, and it was
Oh.
nothing good. But yes, it was a
Well,
lengthy conversation nonetheless.
See, the therapy group is already starting.
Mike, I know you have
Oh,
a heart,
dear.
you have a heart out at 8, right?
I do. Yes, I'm sorry.
No, don't be. So about 10 minutes in, we'll have you say your goodbyes, and I'll give you a little extra time to talk about Max Talk, and then I'll edit later, and then we'll continue on after you leave.
I wish I could share more than like actually the tickets are on sale.
Right.
That's what I was supposed to be working on that today. And those darn clients,
Right.
actually wanting me to do the stuff I told them I was going to do for them. So it didn't all get done, but I do have tomorrow to work on it too. So there you go.
Well, you'll be able to share whatever you can share.
Mike, I have a little
Plan
Lego
is to
story
launch
for
this
you.
weekend. Yeah.
You know the retro camera kit. It's like the $20
Oh, you got
kit.
that?
I did,
Awesome.
and I built it, and it's just a wonderfully fun little build. I'm going to pull it apart and put it back together as a left-handed camera.
I was following your thread about that on Mastodon. It was a couple weeks ago. There was a thread you had going on about left-handed coffee makers or teapots or something. I can't remember what it was.
Yes, yeah. It was a thread someone else started about left-handed stuff,
Yeah.
and yeah, and
Yeah.
Our coffee maker is omni-handed. It works fine either way. And the controls are on front and the lid opens to the back. What can I say? We planned
the lid
ahead.
opens towards the handle, and the button to control the tea kettle is at the base of the handle.
Mm.
And there are marks on both sides so that you can see how much water you have in, regardless of which side the handle's on. The thing for me was that I had no idea that there was an on light for the longest time, because it's only on one side, and it's on the side for right-handed people.
Well, if it helps, ours is a Cuisinart. No money exchanged hands. Ours is a Cuisinart, and it's the exact same one you see in just about every single sitcom out there. So there you go. You know, creatives are left-handed very often. So I think I'm the only right-handed one here, right?
Yeah, see,
Well,
you are our
sort
token
of.
righty.
I'm the token righty. Exactly. Yeah.
You're the only right hand dominant person here. Some of us here were made to conform to the right-handed agenda.
My mom was. My mom was left-handed, and in school as a child in Germany, she was required to do everything with her right hand. This is the 1940s, you know, but she was required to do everything with her right hand, so she ended up being ambidextrous.
Yeah. So yeah, the funny thing with me, the thought that I could actually be left-handed was so foreign to the right-hand dominant world that the school district spent about $4,000 on a PowerBook 165 for me because my handwriting was so bad. Well, yeah, there was a reason for that.
If
let's
only
get
they'd let you
started.
put the pen in your other hand.
Yeah.
Because I want to get as much goodness from Mike as we can because he has to leave.
You just got all the goodness I can give you, Dave. That's it.
All right.
I'm done. I'm done
I
for the
feel like
evening.
my heart is full right now of Mike goodness.
Yes. All right, here we go.
Sorry.
In 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to episode check 2.
Oh my
try it again.
goodness.
Yeah, my goodness. There wasn't even an underpants. Let's do it again. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to episode 296 of In Touch with iOS, this show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my guest this week is Mr. Mike Potter. How you doing, Mike? So glad you're here. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Dave, and I'm counting down to episode 300 of In Touch with iOS. We're getting really close.
We are 4 away from that. It's going to be epic. It's going to be epic. Also, epic is Jeff Gamet. How you doing, Jeff?
I assumed you were about to say Ben, but yeah, I'm doing all right, and especially since I'm here with all of you.
Yes, and even more especially epic is Ben Reithick. How you doing, Ben?
Epic, but I haven't had my developer account banned because I don't have one.
Oh, okay. Well, we got to fix that. So great to have everybody here this week. And my gosh, there was a lot of updates this week from Apple. We're going to be definitely digging into those, including iOS 17.4 was released out to the wild. All kinds of other news and yeah, we just might as well just jump right into this here because it's just a lot to talk about here. So as I said, Apple did release iOS 17.4 as well as iPad OS 17.4, and it's definitely a big change, especially the thing with the EU, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But most important thing is I'm going to tell everybody there are two major security flaws that were in iOS 17.3.1 that you need to update right away, because these security updates are going to be including a impact as an attacker with arbitrary kernel read and write capability may be able to bypass kernel memory protections.
Yeah.
Apple is aware of this, as well as Apple fixed the memory corruption issue that improved validation to patch that security hole. It also is patching a accessibility vulnerability and an issue with Safari private browsing that could allow locked tabs to briefly be visible while switching tab groups. So highly recommend, beyond the fact that it is a .1 update, that you should go out, update now, because there's some pretty serious vulnerabilities in iOS 17.4. Would you not all agree with this? I hope most of you here have updated.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
If you haven't updated by the time you're watching this, pause, update, resume.
yes, and then that goes across all all OSs, including Mac OS. Sonoma had a pretty serious flaw. We'll talk about that in a bit here. So the other thing that stands out, as we've been talking about a ton here, is this has got the big EU app changes. You've got lots of other things that are going to be added here, but I think the big thing here is, and we're seeing that the residents of the European Union will now have new options. You'll be able to install apps from alternate app stores and marketplaces, install a web browser that's an alternate browser without alternate browser engines. You can manage your default web browser the first time you open Safari. You can also use an alternative payment option for apps in the App Store with the external purchases badge. And some options are going to require developer support, but yeah, I guess, yeah, we've only had it in our hands for about a couple days. In the wild, there have been lots of news stories about the EU, and I know, Ben, you've been following it quite a bit over on Mastodon. What is your thoughts on this?
So far, well, number one, the surprise is not only iOS is included, but iPad OS as well.
Right.
It wasn't, to my knowledge, it was never available in beta, those changes on iPad OS.
Mhm.
But I mean, whether it was just something that Apple thought they only need to test iOS, or they got a little note from the principal's office saying that iPad OS was required for compliance as well. Well, if you're in the EU and we're worried about alternate app stores not being on iPad, you don't have to worry.
Yep. How about you, Mike? Have you been following any of this of the coverage on the EU changes, and any thoughts on what they've done for the EU?
What they've done or what they've not done for the EU?
How about both? Yeah.
We've got all night, Mike.
No. Look, they tick the boxes they need to tick, right? They said check. We're done. That's all we need to do to comply with the letter of the law. So
Yep.
there was, I think we mentioned this last time I was on the show. There's some malicious compliance here. So I'm more interested not in what's going on right now, but in what will go on in the coming months. That's what I'm interested in. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I think anything they can do to maintain their dominance in the market as far as app stores are concerned. And by the way, this goes for others as well. This goes to Facebook, it goes to Google, it goes to Amazon, it goes all these companies. It's Apple that's getting all the press.
Mhm.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this pans out in the coming months.
And then Jeff, I know you have thoughts on this.
No, I'm kind of meh. No, The whole thing with iPad OS being included, I don't get why people were surprised, even though it wasn't included in the beta testing. Of course, it was going to be included in the uh, official release because it's part of the same App Store structure. So yeah, and here's my hypothesis: Apple did not include it in testing because it's literally the same code base.
Yeah.
And so they didn't need to do that. And leaving it off until they absolutely had to include it was probably Apple hedging their bets. Like if they're going to be able to convince the EU to let them do something else or not actually follow through with this, then the only place people would have seen this from a news standpoint is it was going to be on the iPhone and now it's not. And so it would have been a lower news thing because it didn't include as many devices.
Yeah, no, I would tend to agree with that. So, it's definitely something to keep an eye on, see what's going to happen here. So, number of the other changes that occurred, and we've been talking a lot about this. I'm going to have a bit of a segment just to talk about the podcast app. I am like blown away with the podcast app and what they've done with transcripts. So we're going to put a little more coverage on that just a minute here. But we've talked about all the EU stuff, and it's not affecting us in the United States. But the folks that are listening in the EU, I mean, I hope you can take advantage of some of the things that you can get access to. Obviously, we can't. So a number of things that stand out here. One thing is messaging with Siri. The automatically send messages setting under Siri and search has been renamed Messages with Siri, and it is an option to set. Probably should be saying S lady because probably triggering everybody's Siri reader. That you
did it again,
and I did it again. I fall for it. So. What it is, it's going to go and read incoming messages in a specific language like Spanish, French, German, Chinese, and many more. The change does not update the primary language that S-Lady listens to and responds to, but limited to message playback. So, again, we'll talk about podcasts. And we also have music recognition. Songs that have been identified with music recognition can be added to the Apple Music playlists, the Apple Music Library, and the Apple Music Classical. So, yeah, they're actually giving some music classical love here. Other thing with the iMessage, there's a new security protocol. That's with iOS 17.4 and iPadOS 17.4. It's new state-of-the-art post quantum cryptograph protocol. We've talked about this PQ3. PQ3 protects against against the harvest now, decrypt later attacks where a malicious actor collects and encrypts the data from hopes of decrypting it with a quantum computer at some point. So they've really improved upon the security on iMessage, so which is great. iPhone 15 battery health has got some improvements here. So you got the changes to the battery interface in the settings app. On 15 models, these devices now will show battery health with a readout such as normal for a quick-at-glance way to see the status of the iPhone's battery. Tapping into the battery health readout shows the battery cycle count, manufacture date, and the first use will be listed. So they're giving some pretty good details with the battery now, because we've talked about I think we talked about last week about battery life and battery health. That this is super important. That they're being more reactive of giving them information on the battery, which is great. Stolen device protection was a huge thing they released. That was in 17.3, now in 17.4. The stolen device protection section of the settings app, there's now an option to require security delay always or only when away from familiar locations, because I think that was a big problem, that you'd get locked out and because it was almost like immediate. But we're very happy that that this has been implemented, especially all the press there was, and we talked about it on previous shows about a lot of social engineering here, being able to steal your phone very easily. number of things here. The stopwatch live activity is now going to be, it's adding a live activity function for the stopwatch. And when you activate it through the clock app, it's now going to show it up in the dynamic island in the lock screen, which I really like. That's really great. So bunch of other things. There's a clock widget now, which they've added. The Apple Cash card now has virtual card numbers. I don't use a lot of the Apple Cash card, but that's helpful with that too. You're going to have now real-time Apple Card, Apple Savings, and Apple Cash Budget app integration, which is going to give the third-party budget apps real-time information for all those I just mentioned. Hand gesture reactions are now going to be in video apps. So now there's a new API for developers that can actually that can be used to turn off hand gestures and reactions in video calls, because people were getting kind of annoying when you don't. I'm not going to do it because mine might go off. Put your thumbs up or a heart or whatever, and
like this.
All those, yeah, and when Jeff gets it, maybe it'll work and maybe it won't. It's not.
Oh, there we go.
There we got some hearts from Jeff. So the Hey S Lady is the option to say that instead of S Lady is now available for French, German, and Spanish. And a big thing is I will hold this back to is CarPlay. There's been a bunch of updates in CarPlay, including the instrument cluster version. That's going to be some of the new cars in this year. So there's quite a bit of stuff. Anything stand out with you guys with what I've talked about so far with 17.4? I know we've had only a few days of using the 17.4, other than I know Ben having it in beta. But where are you at with this on some of these things, Ben?
Definitely podcast transcripts.
Okay.
This is number one going to make it better, especially for listeners with hearing impairments. It also has the potential to make it a bit cheaper for podcasters.
Yep. We'll hit that just a minute here, because there's quite a bit. I know we all want to talk about, being a number of us are podcasters here. So, why not let me talk a little more about the Apple Cash Card and where the way you actually could find the Cash Card number. Apple is giving you a different way to spend your balance if you don't have if Apple Pay isn't available, and you can set up a virtual card number only by going into easily accessing this number in the Safari autofill and being able to use it to shop online where Apple Pay isn't available. So some people are using the Cash Card, so they do give you some options here, and it allows you to go right into the settings here and be able to get to it very easily. And let's just talk a little bit about CarPlay. And CarPlay, again, they're going to have the new instrument cluster experience for CarPlay. These, of course, are going to be cars that are being released in 2024. We've been anxiously waiting for this for a while, and no telling when those are going to be coming out. They say sometime in 2024. So they will have Apple Maps will present a nice new instrument cluster experience with the maneuvers and where to turn and all that. So you're going to see a much better experience to what most of us are used to on the small screens, but I think most of us still have the small screens when it comes to CarPlay. So it's definitely going to be an interesting way of thinking here. So yeah, there's a lot. There really is a lot of stuff that is out there. Obviously, we'll cover it as the next weeks come up here. We find more things that we've been looking close at. But yeah, I've been stalling here with let's talk about Apple Podcasts. I'm just absolutely just blown away of what Apple has done with this. I listened to this show. I wanted to see how this show was playing, and I'm telling you, it picks up the words flawlessly. Every single word that was said by all of us on the panel, myself, and I think I was looking at checking other podcasts too. And,
all right, let's give it a test right now. Fliggity doo bop, biddly bee bee boo.
All right. We'll check to see if that works if you're listening to this show. So I got a couple links in the show notes. One link I did put in here is this is actually an Apple site for podcasters called Apple Podcasts for Creators, and it kind of gives you a little bit of an insight of how it's actually working. and I'll just kind of read this narrative real quick here. It says, with transcripts, your audience can read the full text of an episode, search the episode for a specific word or phrase, tap the text to play from that point in the episode. As the episode plays, each word is highlighted, making it easy to follow along. Transcripts can also be accessed from the episode details page. Touch and hold a podcast episode can reveal an option to view that transcript. I mean, I can go on, but I don't know of any other podcast app that's doing that. I mean, I'm a big Pocket Cast fan. I've been using that for a while. Is this something that could these other podcatchers be catching up? What do you think, Mike, on this?
Well, that was my question. I don't use Apple Podcasts. I don't think this is going to get me to switch to it, but as Ben pointed out, it's a fantastic feature, and there's so many accessibility positives to doing this. Now, we all knew that this was coming because we all have received the emails from Apple telling us for at least 2 months now that this was coming. This is fantastic. Now, what I wasn't clear on, though, is this information being embedded in the show before it gets sent out so that no matter what podcatcher someone is using, they're going to get the transcript? Or is it, somewhat of a live transcription that's happening as you're listening to the show on Apple Podcasts? That's what I don't know the answer to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a fantastic feature. And the fact that, as Ben pointed out, we don't really have to do anything for this to happen. That's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. When I wanted a transcript before, I ran it through Mac Whisper, which, by the way, is a wonderful, wonderful app. If you don't own it and you need to do transcriptions of video or audio or whatever, it's amazing, especially on Apple Silicon. Not so hot on Intel, but it's fantastic on Apple Silicon, speed-wise. But that's what I would run it through when I needed a transcript, and it does a really, really good job, just as you pointed out, Dave, picking up every word. So yeah, I don't have any experience with it in Apple Podcasts, but I think it's a very good thing.
Yeah. I just hit a couple of your points before we move to others here. You can provide your own transcripts. So like if you did Mac Whisper, you could put that into the as part of the RSS feed transcript tag. And you also can download and edit the transcripts. They're available to download in the Apple Podcasts Connect. So you can make changes to the transcript if something wasn't right. And you're also able to check to see if your hosting provider is supporting transcripts, which I would hope they are. I'm using Libsyn, so I don't think any URs too. I think Mike as well. So, so no problem there. So, and you can also go there. It goes through all kinds of steps here. I know this is probably a little too more inside baseball here when it comes to podcasting, but I'm just ecstatic. I mean, I was just really pleasantly surprised how this worked. I got to bring you in here, Jeff. What have you had any chance to look at this, and what are your thoughts?
I looked at it just a little bit, and without having all the details, the under the hood details, I'm questioning if this will be just available for free, if you will, to third-party podcast apps, because Apple is doing the transcription thing, which means they are using some sort of AI system, probably in-house, to manage this. So are they going to give that for free to all podcasters? Because that's a lot of intense processing there. And I'm sorry, I said for all podcasters, for all podcast apps. So if they are, wow, that's surprisingly generous for Apple. And if they're not, then I'm assuming for other podcasting apps to auto-create a transcript, that they will have to pay for a service, which then gets passed on to the podcast app users. So maybe that would be like a premium feature to use their transcription thing. But the part where it generates a transcript for you, and then you can have it tagged for the RSS, I'm assuming they're not doing anything weird there. And once it gets tagged for RSS, and it's just part of your RSS thing, and other podcast apps would then be able to see the final transcript, even if they're not getting to do a live transcript thing.
Yep.
That's my interpretation of how this works.
Yeah.
And that's what I was
But-
wondering. If it's going to become part of the feed, if I'm subscribing to a podcast via Apple, versus directly through Libsyn or whatever, if I'm subscribing to it from Apple, is that transcript, now that it's been done, they've gone through the effort, they've utilized the processing power to create this transcript.
Mm-hmm.
Why not just make it available to anybody who's subscribing to the show?
Right, I agree. Otherwise, they would have to do some kind of janky behind the scenes stuff to
Yeah.
hide it from the RSS for other podcast apps. I mean, I
You
can
don't think
totally see Apple doing
You don't
that.
think Apple would create a proprietary RSS feed, do you, Jeff?
What am I thinking? Of course
Oh.
not, Mike.
Gosh, no. Ben, you have lots of thoughts on this. Go ahead and tell us what your thoughts on this.
Yeah. Besides the benefits to both podcasters and users, it's a reminder that Apple has been an AI company for the better part of a decade, to the point where it's even built into their chips. Rather than use it for hallucinating chat bots, Apple puts its AI / machine learning efforts into features that are useful for everybody.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So check it out. I think it's a great thing. I mean, I'm hoping this expands out to other platforms too. I mean, it's it's pretty open to what transcripts do. I actually put chapters in our every episode now, so we've got that distinguish it, and it goes right to the chapter, and it's got all the transcripts that go under that chapter. So it makes it a much quicker flow of being able to listen to an episode and be able to read along while we're doing the audio podcast. So it's really a great thing. I'm just very impressed with this. So let's move on and talk about some of the other updates that were released. WatchOS was now released at 10.4. That just interestingly enough, it just got released today as we record this. There was 2 days after iOS 17.4 dropped, so they had a little bit of a delay. It was, and what it's doing is just a little bit over a month after 10.3 came out. A lot of things that really aren't coming out. One thing it is fixing was the ghost touch bug.
Finally.
That was such an annoying thing that would happen when all of a sudden you would be not touching it for any reason, and it would cause all kinds of problems. They did also add a setting to disable the double tap feature if you were, especially if you were using a Vision Pro. Can you imagine? I didn't even think about that. Have the Vision Pro and the double tap on the Apple Watch. You're doing that when you're using the Vision Pro. I forgot. I didn't even think about that. So,
yeah, apparently someone at Apple didn't think about it either.
Yeah. So now if you got a Vision Pro, I think the Vision Pro, you might want to turn it off on your Apple Watch. So it's of course, some enhancements, improvements, bug fixes. It does tap to show full notification settings and allows you to expand the double when you're doing the double tap on the notification. Using Apple Pay with Confirm with Assistive Touch will now require a passcode for additional security, which is a good thing. And they were saying that it was resolving an issue where it caused some users to experience false touches on the display. So like we talked about the ghost bug, and fixes a issue with preventing contacts from syncing to Apple Watch for some users. So a little bit more of some bug fixes, unusual because usually the WatchOS is relatively uneventful after its initial release. Any thoughts on that, Ben?
I mean, not much except for that ghost touch fix. It's been a relatively pedestrian update for WatchOS.
Yeah, and you were running it for a while on beta, so it wasn't too bad. So Not much else to say about that. But unless anybody else had any other comments about the Apple Watch, I think
I have a question
can-
about the update.
sure.
So when I started the update an hour ago, it told me that there was still 3 hours left.
Cool. I did mine
And
it
I
went real
checked
quick.
just a few minutes ago, so an hour after I started it, 2 hours left. So holy crap. A 3 hour update? Is it just me, or is this like
It
a
is.
stupid long update?
I just did mine an hour ago, and I put it out on the charger, and I downloaded it ahead of time on the app on the iPhone before I threw it on the charger to update, and I
Yeah, and
don't
that's
think it
what I
took more than
did.
about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes tops.
Okay, just me.
Yeah,
All I have to say, Jeff, is Apple Watch updates are the worst. They're
They are the
absolutely
worst.
the worst. The whole process you have to go through to get the stupid watch updated is
It's
it's awful. And every time there's a
stupid is
release, I'm
right.
like, you know what? I'm not even gonna bother. Not even gonna bother. It'll eventually update itself, and then I don't have to worry about it. But when I deliberately try to update the watch, forget it. It never works. Never works. Drives
We
me
should
crazy.
start a support group.
Yes, for sure. So
another support group.
Another
Yeah.
support group.
there's so many of them out there. Speaking of support groups, HomePod.
Oh, yeah, there's another
17.4
support group.
17.4 was released. I have not made sure that installed yet. I'm sure it hasn't done it. It's automated update just yet. This has a update with a music preference update. And it's the new software 17.4, and the update comes over a month after the last HomePod release. And they do say that S-Lady is able to learn what a user's preferences, preferred media services, eliminating the need to set a third-party app as the default, which includes the app name when asking to play something with S-Lady. The update also enables S-Lady to learn your preferred, so you don't have to even think about it anymore, which is great. Apple did remove the home app option that lets users to set a default media service as a result. So they made some changes there. So it seems like there's a lot of third-party changes and S-Lady changes, and not much else to improve its connectivity, right, Jeff?
Yep. I haven't had a chance to really put this update through its paces yet because
Yep.
I installed it just a little while ago today.
Yeah, same here.
And actually, didn't it just come out today anyhow?
It did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch
So-
OS, tvOS, and HomePod OS it all came out today.
And
as we
Mac
record.
OS.
Yeah,
And Mac
oh yeah,
OS,
and
yes,
Mac OS, which
I'll
I'll
talk
be
about.
doing that one later tonight. You can bet though that I'm going to be doing very specific commands to my HomePod to see how it responds. There's one thing I would love for it to actually do correctly now.
Anything?
There's a lot of things, but here's one.
Yeah.
When I say, "Hey S-Lady, I don't like this song," and it responds back and says, "Okay, I'll let iTunes or music or whatever know that you don't like this song." And then a little while later, that passive aggressive little butt plays the song. I wanted to stop doing that.
Yeah, for me, it's usually, hey, S-Lady, turn lights. Oh,
Yeah.
I'll instead I'll play a track of music in a genre you do not listen to.
Yeah. Or it'll say, I can show you that on your iPhone. Or, and nothing happens.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed. Do you have anything, Mike?
One thing. So you forgot to mention the rumor that in iOS 18, that Apple is going to add the ability to listen for S-Lady specifically. So there's that.
Rumors. We
No,
don't deal with rumors.
Then it must
No.
be a fact.
And
Yeah.
two, or B, Phoenix. Nobody mentioned the Phoenix. I am so excited that there is finally a Phoenix emoji.
Oh,
Oh, yes.
right.
Oh,
I did.
I
I did.
forgot about
We did
that.
talk about emojis. I did. I failed to mention that. Yes, there are
No
some,
moose
there is
that
a
I'm aware
phoenix.
of. No moose, but
yeah,
a phoenix. So,
yeah,
there's that.
yeah. I was wondering because we're about 40 years away from first contact.
Oh, wow, we are.
We are.
Man, we better
Yeah.
get that eugenics war happening pretty fast.
No, no.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, no, that was not a good war. That will not be a good war.
No. TVOS 17.4 was released today as well as we record. And as always, nothing eventful there. It's just a bunch of bug fixes and improvements. That's all they really say. So make sure you go get that updated as well. Vision Pro got the 1.1. I still got to get used to talking about Vision Pro now with all the updates coming. This was released today as well. So there was a big jump today that released a lot of these updates here. So it is installed by going into the settings app and to the Vision Pro and selecting your general section, and you can go through software update, which is very, very similar that you do on other devices. The virtual keyboard has been updated to address bugs that was making the cursor positioning more accurate. And there's also bug fixes with the Mac virtual display. Well, that's good because, we like the way we want. And I still have to do my demo. I know Ben hasn't done. Have you done a demo on Visual Pro, Mike?
No, I have not. Someone else asked me that yesterday too, and I have not.
Yeah,
I did, however, get to experience a virtual reality room in the mid to early 90s at a university in Chicago. I knew somebody who worked there, and I got the opportunity to go through that VR lab, which was quite cool for the time.
Mhm.
And it's interesting how far we've come, and yet how far we have not come in that time.
Mhm.
It's yeah.
Yep.
But no, I have not. That's the short answer.
I need to do that. I need to do that. I'm hoping to
You
do
do,
it this
even
weekend.
if you don't plan on getting a Vision Pro, it's
Right.
worth it just so you can see where Apple is headed with their
Yep.
computer technology.
Yeah.
So they did do some other updates and improvements with Vision Pro. The Persona was probably one of the biggest ones. That was that they've added the Persona beta and eyesight. It adds an option to enroll your Persona hands-free, improves hair and makeup appearance. that was a need because I remember the first ones were pretty bad. Improves neck and mouth representation. Okay, that's important too, and improves rendering of the eyes for eyesight. So I guess they're doing some improvements here. So if you got the Vision Pro, go out and get your updates for that because they are out there now. So finally, I was going to talk a little bit about Mac OS. Sonoma 14.4 was released here. This is another update. This is the fourth major update to Sonoma. And some of the things that were added as well. There's emojis like you talked about, the Phoenix. There's the mushroom, the time, broken chain, shaking heads emojis are now in there. 18 people in body emoji support facing the opposite directions. Okay, direction. And they had some bugs fixes as well. There were some pretty serious bugs in Mac OS as well, so that you need to make sure that you're getting this update put through here right away because yeah, it was pretty bad. So everybody here upgrade. Oh yeah, you said Jeff that you're going to be doing that later tonight.
Mhm.
But everybody else got theirs updated.
Not yet. Not yet. But to put a little exclamation point on what you just said, Dave, not only are there over 50 vulnerabilities fixed in this patch for Mac OS, but 2 of them are actually exploited right now. So it's super important to get this update installed. I did not see if there were point releases for the previous versions of Mac OS. Did you happen to notice if there was one
No.
for
I thought there
Ventura?
was.
Well, the
I thought
last
there
one was
a Ventura
14.3.1.
security update that came out. But
There wasn't anything other than 14.3.1 that I remember. So,
okay.
and I'm updating them all the time. It's because of work. So,
Why
uh,
I meant 13, Mac OS 13.
oh,
Did we
oh,
see a
oh,
Ventura
you mean
patch
Ventura?
to
I
address some of these
did not
vulnerabilities, or
did not see anything
I
come through.
I did not see that go by. And normally there
No.
is a supplementary security patch for a previous release of Mac OS when something like this comes out.
Well,
But I literally got this story not too long before with the list
Yeah.
of all the vulnerabilities, not too long before we recorded, so I haven't had a chance to look into it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
the security reports that Apple puts out when the software updates roll out, they usually drop pretty quickly. And I just realized I'm still not seeing the security log email yet.
Mm.
And that security log
yeah,
email,
you're
it'll
right.
list all the OS versions that are addressed.
Yeah, you're right. Didn't come through yet. They might not come till tomorrow, maybe.
We may be
Yeah.
saying that tomorrow. It's something to
Mhm.
look for. If you're still on Ventura, look for security releases to come
Yeah.
on the heels of this one, because that's very often the case.
Oh, for sure. So make sure you're doing all your updates. There's a lot. Like I said, this was quite an update week this week, getting everything up to date, keeping things secure, as for sure. Um, so let's jump into the news for this week. First story here: uh, Apple updates rules surrounding the EU DMA compliance to address developer concerns. Uh, this was developers in the EU are now going to have approved ability to sign up for their updated terms. A one-time exit clause and new eligibility criteria should address many of their concerns.
Wait, one-time
After
exit clause?
it says yes, it says
Like
a one-time exit
like
clause.
you pull out and that's it forever. You're done.
That
I,
seems that what it says here. So,
okay, okay.
um,
Just wanted to make sure I was
yeah,
getting
and
that
then
right.
and also says here finally that Apple has made it easier for developers to create alternative app marketplaces by not requiring a standby letter of credit under certain circumstances. So there's a lot of moving parts here with developers, especially in the EU. What do you think on this, Mike? There's a lot going on here.
Well, I'll be honest, I haven't been following this super closely, but
Yeah.
it does seem to me as if the moving parts are there on purpose. That, there's a reason they're making it as complicated as they are.
Oh, of course.
And like I said earlier, I think we just have to wait and see how this actually works itself out. Is the EU actually going to enforce these laws that they put into place, or are they going to say, "Oh, well, okay, they're getting close enough, so that's good enough"? I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Um, what do you think, Ben, on this? I know you've been pretty active talking about this.
Yeah, right now it's kind of as Mike indicated, a moving target. I think Apple and quite frankly, the other companies are trying to figure out how much they can get away with and not get fined tens of billions of dollars.
Mhm.
I think honestly, we're probably going to get a more permanent set of rules around WWDC.
Yeah,
Mm.
makes sense. Anything to add, Jeff?
Yeah, the whole thing with this is a moving target, and Apple and all the other companies that are impacted by this are figuring out what's the bare minimum that they can do to be in compliance, and what can they do to fit within those guidelines and make this deal as sour as possible for developers.
Yep.
Yeah. And while we're sitting here looking at this and saying, wow, Apple's doing a lot to make this complicated,
That's the point.
Apple's going to deal with a lot of complications of their own
Yeah.
because the EU is just the first to do this.
Mm.
Other countries will follow, and potentially here in the United States, we could get a mishmash of states doing their own thing,
Oh yeah.
and Apple will maliciously comply with these, and And it's going to be super complicated before too long to know what you can do with your iOS device, depending on your location.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree. I agree. All right. Next story here. Apple has changed the trade-in values for iPhones, iPads, and Apple Watches. They even did Macs, but it's just this one article doesn't mention it. This was yesterday as we record here. It's they have adjusted the estimated trade-in values for the select models, and the changes are reflected on the website. So there was some slight increases in some of the models, like 14 Pro Max. You can trade it in for $630 versus $620. Even go down to the lower watches. They added $10 on the Apple's Watch Series 4. You can get that about that much.
Wow.
Still can get 100 and it dropped a little for the Series 7 on that. But the Ultra, the Watch Ultra, the first model is $355, and the standard iPad is $250. You get a whopping $90 for the iPhone SE 2. I was pricing the MacBook Air because I'm very tempted to upgrade my. I know I'm crazy. I have the M2 MacBook Air from last year, and they're still giving me $670 to trade it in. And it's the base model, 8 gig with the 256 solid state. So, which isn't bad if you can think about it for a year.
And how much did you pay for that one new?
I paid $800, $850, something like that.
Okay. Yeah. So that's actually surprisingly good.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I mean, comparing that as far as the performance of the M3, I mean, there isn't a huge. I'm looking at some of the benchmarks. Yeah, it's not a huge jump, but it is an M3, and I gotta have a new one, and it is a spare
get
model
it.
that I have. So we're very passionate about that.
Daddy needs a new M3.
He does. What do you think, Ben?
These prices have me wondering whether a 15-inch M3 Air or a refurbished base M3 Pro 14-inch might be in my future,
Yeah,
because I can
Sure.
get a pretty good trade in on my M1 Pro.
oh, I agree.
Mhm.
How about you, Jeff?
I would like to have been sitting in on the meeting when Apple was talking with the company that handles the trade-in process for them, when they were saying, we need you to sweeten the pot. And the company's like, this is the best we can do. And Apple leans in and says, see, I don't think you understood what I just said. I said we need to sweeten this pot.
Oh my gosh, Jeff. Lastly, what about you, Mike? What do you think on this?
Um, you know what? You mentioned you've got an M2 and you're looking at the M3. Oh my gosh, the M2 is still
It is still good.
an amazing machine. And for
M1's still
Apple to make that the entry-level MacBook Air for
It's
$999,
Yep.
I read an interesting editorial that they almost kind of backed themselves into a corner on that one because it's such a good machine with minimal improvements to the M3 model. Why not buy the M2? And I think that would be my recommendation. If someone were looking for a general purpose MacBook Air,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
get
It's
the
still
M2.
available.
It's a great value and a fantastic machine. In fact,
That's why I bought it originally.
unfortunately for my client, I just helped a client set up an M2 15-inch MacBook Air like 3 weeks ago.
Might
way
still
I
be
see
in
it-
that return window.
I
Yeah.
don't feel bad about that.
Well, no.
It's
It
a good
was
machine.
then a great machine, and it's a great machine now. And to drop they could have done something with the M1 and made it such a low level entry level price point and just kind of drop the M2. They've done that before too. So I don't know. It's interesting what they did with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
M3 is great. Do you need it over your M2 though, Dave?
No.
You don't.
Yeah.
I know.
Yes.
You're
I
okay.
know.
Don't
I'll
trade
be
it in.
It's
You're
I need
fine,
some.
Dave.
I need
Look, yeah.
I need intervention. I do.
Yes. Let me put it this way. My M1 Pro, there is still not a single task that I've thrown at it
Yeah,
that
that's
has
what I have.
slowed it down in the slightest.
Agreed.
Mhm.
Agreed. Remember how amazing we thought those machines were when they came out? They're still
They still
amazing.
are.
They still are.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
An M1 Mac is still more Mac than most people will be
Will ever
able
need.
to,
Will ever
to
will
take
ever need.
advantage of.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 Exactly.
And without hearing the fans ever.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, we're gonna mark right here because I got 10 minutes, and I want to get Mike to talk about MacStock and his outro. So we'll start in 3, 2. So Mike, tell us a little bit about what's going on with MacStock. I know that you got some news you can share with us, and some you cannot. But we want to hear an update on what's going on with MacStock.
Oh, I got to come back on here in a week or two.
Yes.
I'm so close to putting out the announcement for selling tickets. It's one of those things where as I started reworking the MacStock site, I realized I had to kind of gut some things and start fresh.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of in that process right now. Reinvented the way tickets are going to be purchased. Had a couple conversations with folks about the workshops that we're going to have this year, which is brand new. We're adding a third day. The first day, Friday, the 12th. By the way, MacStock is July 12th, 13th, and 14th. The first day, the 12th, is all new to MacStock, and that is a day of workshops. So right at the moment, we're planning on 4 90-minute workshops. We have room for more if we have more folks sign up for it. But yeah, that's going to be great. And so to accommodate that, and then to accommodate the regular MacStock weekend, Saturday and Sunday, with all these fantastic talks and presenters that we have, oh, so much work to do. But I'm just about ready to announce things. We have had a number of folks that folks love to see at MacStock every year agree to present. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I say Allison Sheridan is going to present this year. Mike Schmitz is going to present this year. Relatively newcomer to MacStock, Dave Ginsburg, said he's going to present this year.
That's me.
I believe Jeff Gamet may present.
That's totally up to Mike Potter. But if he says yes, then
coming back this year, Brett Terpstra is coming back this year to present. He
Yes.
wasn't able to join us last year. He's going to be coming back again this year. So we have a lot of favorites, and my plan is to do what we did last year too, and introduce a number of new faces to MacStock stage as well. So I'm very excited about it. I am planning to get the tickets ready to launch, the site ready to launch, and the tickets ready for sale this weekend. So if anyone's interested, they can just go to max.conferenceandexpo.com. And even though you're going to see last year's website right at the moment, you can still sign up for the newsletter. And as soon as that information is ready, you'll catch it there. And then, of course, you can follow me at Max.Expo on Mastodon. So that's another great way to find me as well.
Great. Okay, we'll cut here. So, Mike, thanks for being here. Where can people find you?
Thank you so much for having me, Dave. I'm sorry I had to cut out early, but if anyone is looking for me, they can find me at 4maceyesonly.com and, of course, max.conferenceandexpo.com. And then if you are looking for me on the socials, you're going to find me on Mastodon. The server is tooting.ninja. So it's tooting.ninja/@max.expo or at 4maceyesonly. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being here, Mike. We appreciate it. Okay, got here, and you can buzz out anytime you're ready, Mike. We're just going to keep on.
I have my alarm set
before you have
for
to bail.
1 minute from now. My alarm is set.
Always a treat to get to hang out.
It's always
with you.
great to hang out with you. Appreciate it.
And real quick, I know we're still recording here, Jeff, but reach out. You know, you said you had some stuff you wanted to chat with me about. Just reach out when you're ready, and we'll get that. We'll make that chat happen.
Awesome.
There was my alarm.
And there
Okay.
will be some
And Dave will
Lego
edit in
discussion
post.
involved too.
Oh, yes, we'll have to allocate an hour just for that.
And rightly so.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Mike. All right. We'll go 3, 2, 1. All right. More news that we had to talk about this week. Let's talk a little bit about that lawsuit. We love lawsuits, don't we? Apple was hit with a class action lawsuit over the iCloud's 5 gigabyte limit and iPhone backup restrictions. A newly proposed class action lawsuit was alleges that Apple has marked up its iCloud prices to the point that the service is generating the almost pure profit, quote unquote, as reported by Bloomberg Law. The plaintiffs are accused of rigging and the competitive playing field by only allowing iCloud to manage device backups and other storage needs. Apple devices holders are given a 5 gig of free iCloud storage space, but as iCloud revenues attest, most users have found that to be an inefficient. And we've talked about this a million times about the storage needs and purchases, supplemental storage, right? And we always would go and say, it's $1 a month. You get 50 gigabytes of data. That's okay. You could just or 20 gigs. I think it's 20 gigs or 50. But I see the point of this. I mean, you get sick of these class action lawsuits, and I think this is something that, I think we have a bit of a debate on this. What do you think, Jeff?
I think this lawsuit is a total steaming pile of crap. This is seriously, I think this is attorneys chasing a check. And they think that they're going to be able to get a settlement out of Apple, and then they win. How can Apple be gouging us on price or overcharging us for something that you get for free? I mean, you don't even have to own an Apple device to sign up for an Apple ID, and then you have 5 gigs of free storage. And as far as I know, free in this case actually means free. So as far as what Apple charges for their other levels of storage and saying, well, Apple is just generating pure profit. That's what you do in capitalism. That's just how it works. It's okay. When you go to Barnes and Noble and you sign up for their rewards club thing, and I don't even remember how much it costs. It's, I don't know, what is it, like $50 a year or something? That is pure profit.
Oh, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't they suing Barnes and Noble for having a members club that you have to pay an annual subscription for?
There's 20 or 30 million iPhone users out there.
Exactly. I seriously do not think this has anything to do with Apple storage levels and how much money they're charging for the levels compared to other companies. This is all about finding a way to spin up a frivolous lawsuit against a company that has incredibly deep pockets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you think, Ben?
Look, there have been a few lawsuits in the last few years that have had some validity.
Mhm.
This is not one of them.
Yeah.
I don't know how much more that I can say that Jeff already hasn't. But I mean, they're giving people free storage. Is it enough? No. Can you buy more storage at very reasonable rates? Yes, you can. I mean, you could get 2 gigabytes for $10 or 2 gigabytes, 2 terabytes for $10.
2 terabytes? No, it's more than that.
Yeah, it's $9.99 is 2 terabytes.
Okay.
But it's
a month.
Honestly,
yes.
A month. It's honestly, for what I do, it's just cost of doing business.
No, I agree. And I see some of the other validity to it of the fact of the matter is you have no control of your backup other than using a third party app like we've always talked about, like iMazing. So, I mean, there's your option right there. If everybody's complaining about the backup of iCloud, then, you know, Apple widely accepts iMazing for another method of backing things up.
You can
and
also
being
back
able-
up locally without
Locally.
iMazing.
Yeah, using the Finder on a Mac, or you can also do it on a Windows machine too if you so dare. You could do it that way. The only other thing we want to compare it to is other cloud storage services. You know, I give an example like OneDrive, Microsoft OneDrive. You only get 5 gigabytes of free data with OneDrive, so you have to pay for that service. And granted, I think OneDrive is a little more economical. I think you can get a 1 terabyte, and I don't think you pay more than like, you know, $2 or $3 a month. I'd have to look up off the top of my head. I'm just giving that. It's not terribly expensive for that. The drawback to any of these services is the fact that even on a Mac, you know, if iCloud's running, most of these services cannot back it up automatically. You know, like especially if you're doing it on a Mac, you know, OneDrive has what's called folder redirection, giving you the option to be able to back up your documents, your desktop and pictures, all that stuff automatically, as opposed to letting iCloud do it. Well, when iCloud's running, OneDrive can't to do that automated backup. You look at Dropbox. Dropbox only gives you 2 gigabytes of free data. So it's even worse. You know, so I mean, at least Google is a little more generous with Google Drive. You get 15 gigabytes. So again, you don't have the automation. That's the whole key of this here. Is it is automated when it comes to iCloud. I can see both sides of this coin. You're going to have people who are not as, you know, we're obviously all Apple fanboys here and girls. That yeah, we don't care because iCloud's fine and we're happy with it. But then you got the other side of that coin, people who are not Apple fans. Okay, and I can see where a lot of this lawsuit is kind of probably generated. They use iPhones because they like them and they think it's a better iPhone device than an Android in some cases. But then they have no control of, you know, where the cloud is, because we all hear it all the time. You complain that I don't want to have to pay for cloud storage. 5 gigabytes is never enough, because you'll eat up 5 gigabytes alone, all the messages that you get with all the attachments you get all the time, not even counting photos. I mean, so, but again, more frivolous lawsuits. I mean, I don't know if they're going to prevail in this lawsuit against Apple, but you know,
I'll be surprised if this even makes it to a trial.
Yeah.
But you know, sure, if you're doing photos, you're going to need more storage.
Right.
And yes, messages, you can chew through 5 gigs of storage pretty quickly there. That said, for what Apple is offering you with the 5 gig, it's more than enough to handle what they intend it for, which is basic data synchronization for contacts and calendars, you know, just keychain, that basic stuff. It's way more than enough. Excuse me. And a lot of people, even with messages,
Right,
they'll never max out 5 gig with that. And it's, yeah, I'm just having a really hard time trying to find a way to spin this as a legit complaint.
yeah, like I said, a lot of frivolous lawsuits out there. Our friend Chuck Donner always loves when we talk about lawsuits.
He's all
because-
about the lawsuits and the
Yeah, he
rumors.
is. And the rumors. Those are his 2 favorite topics every time we talk. So we'll see what happens. I guess that's really the bottom line to this. So this story was interesting. Over 200 Apple Watches were recovered in my home turf here, Illinois, lakes by metal detectorists and diver. Professional, he's called himself a metal detectorist. I haven't even heard that before. It says that the Apple Watches have become a surprisingly big part of his business. He has recovered more than 200 Apple Watches while diving into and searching. This is called the Chain of Lakes region, which is in northeastern Illinois. It's outside of Chicago. And he said that he found various items over the years, but it seems like he's finding a lot of Apple Watches and sometimes even iPhones or gold rings, prescription glasses, and more. But he says Apple Watches, however, have been amongst most common findings, and nearly all have had the original watch band attached. So, and the thing is, as far as the Apple Watches go, most still take a charge, but they've become a lot because it's difficult to get them back to the owner. So there's your problem there, because if you don't, if the watch was paired to your iPhone, you're not going to unpair it. You need that iPhone to unpair it. So they're kind of bricks. I'm thinking. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah. So if you're going anywhere near water, make sure you have a very, very secure band.
Yeah. There's even a picture in this article showing all the mounds of Apple Watches you found. It's kind of funny.
You know, okay. I think that this is a case of people coming to the wrong conclusion about why they're finding all these Apple Watches with the original silicon watch band. It's not because that's the one that's falling off. It's because that's the one that people leave on their watch.
Yeah.
I bet that's it exactly. Also, I had no idea that Apple grew Apple Watches underwater. And now here's someone going out to one of their secret Apple Watch farms and harvesting them. Apple's going to be real happy about that.
Yeah. And they're still charging, which is kind of funny after all that. So really interesting. So next story here. This is interesting. We've talked about this before with the blood glucose monitoring. The FDA just approved an iPhone-powered blood glucose monitor as Apple Watch sugar sensing plan still continues, and there's no prescription needed. There's has been some ongoing rumors that Apple intends to add support to the monitoring the blood glucose levels with the release of a future Apple Watch, but so far that feature is that the company simply hasn't been able to make happen. And now it seems like their closest thing they're going to have is to have a third-party device that can offer the same functionality and connect to an iPhone via Bluetooth. And now it's here without even having to have a prescription, because a lot of monitoring tools you have to have a prescription here. So now, following the FDA assertion that any smart watch that claims to be able to measure blood glucose levels is simply lying, the same outfit has now given a go-ahead for this is part of Dexcom's Stello glucose biosensor system that can be offered without a need of a prescription. The product connects to the iPhone via Bluetooth, while the FDA says it isn't intended for use by people who have been diagnosed with low blood sugar or prescribed insulin, and is still likely to be of use for some who are non-insulin dependent diabetics. So this is interesting. I think this continues to evolve. This kind of stood out to me, and when I thought to take a look at this a little further here, I know the technology's there. It's just going to take some time here. We've got measurements already. But Ben, what do you think?
As a diabetic, I think this is definitely a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that being said, don't rely on this kind of device without consulting your doctor.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Jeff?
I think that well, okay. I've been seeing comments from people saying that this is ridiculous if Apple can't get approval for a non-invasive monitor device for Apple Watch. How can this other company do it for their device? And it's totally reasonable for both of these things to be true, because we're talking about a different type of device. What is it? The Stello in this case.
Right.
It's a different type of device. It's getting the readings in a different way. And the fact that it sends data directly to your iPhone, okay, that's cool. but that doesn't mean it's the same non-invasive technology that the FDA is saying it won't approve. So that said, I love the idea of devices that give us more information about our health, especially if you have requirements like for diabetes.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
Great. Give us more ways to have that data, feed it into HealthKit, and we get that information right away, and our doctors can get it in a timely fashion as well.
Right.
Bring it on. I'm all for that. Like Ben said, check with your doctor and make sure this is the right the right tool for you. Oh, I'm sounding like a disclaimer at the end of a commercial.
You are.
Yeah, well,
Um,
because it should be.
It is. Yes, it has to be. A couple more stories here. Apple TV Plus has added a limited time library of 50 movies to stream for free. Well, I guess you still have to have an Apple TV Plus subscription, but these are some limited time collection of movies that to stream as part of your subscription. Apple has done occasionally in the past to coincide with the themed release of new originals, but this is by far the biggest drop, and it's only available to folks in the U.S. Includes big titles like The Wolf of Wall Street, Saving Private Ryan, Mad Max Fury, but it also has Star Trek Beyond. So you do have that as one of the movies this year, and Star Trek for that matter. That must be the first, the very first Star Trek.
The Kelvinverse movies.
Yes.
Yes.
So there's quite a list of movies here. Argo, that was a good movie. Oh, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I got to go back and watch that. I love that movie. That's here
awesome
in Chicago.
movie.
Yeah, Bueller. So nice little list of movies here. What do you think, Jeff, on this?
I love that this is something that Apple is doing. Apple is not offering the same kind of streaming content service that Netflix or Amazon Prime are offering.
Yep.
But this is a great way for Apple to offer more value to Apple TV Plus subscribers, and it totally makes sense because in many cases, like you mentioned, they're getting movies that tie into other properties that they offer. So there you go.
Yep.
If you're already paying for Apple TV Plus, you have some free movies you can watch.
You do. How about you, Ben?
Well, I mean, The Prestige and Catch Me If You Can are two of my favorites, two of the best movies I've ever seen.
Yep.
And there's literally nothing here that isn't quality. So just go on a Netflix binge on Apple TV Plus.
There you go.
There you go. And lastly, let's talk a little bit about the photo editor Luminar. It's arrived on the iPad and Vision Pro. This is the team that's behind the popular Mac photo editor, Luminar Neo. It now unveiled its first iPad app. Just like the Mac version, Luminar for iPad offers a number of features to help edit any image. One of the highlights of the editor is 4 AI-powered tools: Enhanced AI, Skya AI, Structure AI, and Relight AI. With those, you can do a number of tasks like replacing skies, unlocking details, and even realigning a photo with a single click. So they've got some really nifty features in here, and this is nice to see. This is also available for the Vision Pro. So I'd be interested to see how you do photo editing on a Vision Pro by using this too. So what do you think, Jeff? This is a good. I always thought this was a pretty cool app.
Luminar's a cool app. It's not one that I use regularly,
Sure,
but that doesn't mean it's not a cool app. And I love that we're starting to see more apps show up as Vision Pro native.
right.
And I've had so many people comment to me that one of the things that they want for Vision Pro is a legit image editing tool.
Yep.
And here you go.
There you go. And Ben, you got the last word on this.
It's Luminar is not an app I'm familiar with. I am a Photomator guy, but I am downloading it now as we speak, since it's a It's free to download from the App Store.
Yeah, 7-day trial. It is like $4.99 a month. I think it's $29.99 a year if you wanted. It's a subscription based app. So I mean that's part of life here with applications. You're seeing subscription services. So if it's something you like, I would recommend checking it out. At least you got a free trial. You can try it if you like it. Why not grab it? So. All right, what a great show! There was a ton to talk about this week. Lots of updates and lots of great stuff. And let's go ahead and that's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastodon at intouchwithios at techhangout.social. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can also become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you are notified when we are live streaming, which is on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time and 5 p.m. Pacific. Thank you, Cletus, for being out there today, and others that were in the YouTube chat live. That's our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios, where you can watch the current and past live streams as well as listen to past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discussed are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, the newly updated Apple Podcasts with transcripts, and many others. But better yet, just go to our website, which is intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us is on that website. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 at mastodon.cloud. And Chef Gamut, thank you so much for being here. Where can people find you?
Hey, thank you so much for letting me hang out with you and with Ben and Mike. It's just awesome. I love it. Where can people find me? How about on social media? J Gamut everywhere. I'm posting stuff on Mastodon, Instagram, and Threads. And then for shows, Tuesdays, Chuck Joyner's Mac Voices Live. Then here on Thursdays with you, Dave. And then for the British Tech Network, Thursdays for the Big Show, Fridays for the Mac Show. And also Brian Chaffin and I do the Context Machine.
Great, thank you. Last but certainly not least, Ben Rathick, thank you as always for being here. It's always a pleasure having you here. Where can people find you?
Well, Dave, you can find me at social media or on social media at Ben Rathick. You can find my ravings. Yes, my ravings at Rathick.tech. And you can find me on all those places that Jeff just said, except for the Context Machine. Yes, I'm doing it smarter, not harder.
Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it. And thank you for listening. We really hope you enjoyed the show. We enjoyed doing it, and we'll talk again soon. All right. Thank you.
That was loads of fun, as always.
That was a good show. Such a pain to have to switch back to my earphones. There we go. Now I can hear you again. Yes, good stuff. I don't think there was too many people in the chat today.
Well, my guess is that people were or are watching the State of the Union.
That is true. I forgot about that. That just kicked off, but 15 minutes ago. Then with that, I'll say goodbye to the live stream. Bye, live stream.
Bye.